I'm Rena Del Pieve Gobbi. My PhD research is mental health disability in higher education and autoethnography. As a student with a mental illness, I tell a story about my people through the lens of my own experience. Being at university is challenging. Here at the University of British Columbia, approximately 36% of students receiving assistance for disability have mental health issues. A staggering 86% of these students drop out of university. I personally withdrew from my studies several times. In high school, at age 15, I was forcibly removed from my classroom and spent a month and a half in an adult psychiatric ward. Studies show that students have difficulty reintegrating into school after a psychiatric hospitalization. I had to leave college after my first semester and did not return for 8 years. Students in their undergraduate studies are extremely vulnerable, and mental health conditions frequently manifest between the ages of 17 and 24. I graduated with my Bachelor of Fine Art in 1999, 1 year behind my peers. I found people in art school to be tolerant of differences. I returned to university in 2003. My psychology professor commented, "Should you really be in school at this time?" This type of shaming or stigma adds stress and negatively impacts performance. In addition, for myself, flashbacks while writing essays were a challenge. Mental health disability can go into remission, but remains an ongoing concern. My story is constructed using an archive of materials. I have 49 journals written over the past 28 years, a huge stack of sketchbooks, my school and medical records, and among my innumerable photographs, I have a collection of assisted self-portraits taken with a camera that I smuggled into the psychiatric ward in 1993. These pivotal images are the basis for a series of paintings. I was generally not alone in the rooms where I staged the photographs. Therefore, I am adding images of various individuals whom I recall from my 3 years of hospitalizations to the work as an underpainting layer. In this way, I can embed others in the paintings while preserving their anonymity. Just as people use pseudonyms in written work to protect individuals' identity, it's important to be mindful when creating visual work, especially when working with vulnerable populations. Only I will know whom I have depicted. Considering all this, I take a deep breath and ask myself a question. Rena, why are you doing this work about yourself? Why not make a documentary video with interviews? I ponder this for a moment and then respond to myself. The way stigma exists in society, I wouldn't ask others to expose themselves for my research. Furthermore, as an experimental filmmaker, documentary isn't my style. Don't you agree? Wow, my alter ego agrees with me for once. Yes, she says, my film videos are usually fast-paced and unusual. In filmmaking, I prefer metaphoric imagery. For instance, when considering the resilience of students with invisible disabilities, I naturally visualize microorganisms. Rotifers, paramecia, and especially tardigrades can endure extremes of heat and cold, wet and dry, just as students with mental health disabilities struggle and survive in adversity, fighting internal and external forces. So, when COVID-19 sent us into isolation, I purchased a microscope and set out as a great tardigrade hunter. A fantastic way to motivate myself to go for extended walks in the forest, thus maintaining my mental health during this enforced isolation. My research process itself is metaphoric, as I position my life, past and present, under the proverbial microscope, looking deeply within myself to learn about success and failure in education, telling my story that others may benefit. My doctoral studies also use the methodology of artography, which started here at the University of British Columbia. I explore as an artist, researcher, teacher. I use artistic expression as research and dissemination to explore issues of stigma and resilience. Having creative solutions to deal with my mental health issues led me to once imagine myself with purple skin and wearing a purple bunny suit prior to a stressful transport between hospitals. I filled a sketchbook with variations on this theme. These images led to a fabric project for my present research titled The Physical Manifestation of My Invisible Purple Jumpsuit. This project illustrates constructing a self-protective layer to gird oneself against stigma in society. Research informs how disclosure of disability in scholarly writing can give authentic voice to persons who often exist on the margins. I feel that disclosure through art can have the same effect. I sincerely hope that my research helps. Thank you so much for listening.